ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode number 41 of Geeks Who Like Sports. As always, in Los Angeles, California, I am Ray Carcillo, joined by my best friend over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Lee Elias. Lee, how are you doing this morning?
Ray, I'm doing good. I just got back from St. Louis after being away for a week, and it is sunny here in Philadelphia. It's always sunny in Philadelphia, even when it's not. I'm happy to be here today. I missed doing the show earlier in the week. This is the driving force of my life right now, Ray. Yeah. And I'm happy to be here. I'm happy that we have a special guest today.
Yes. We are recording it on Wednesday, January the 29th. It is the middle of the week because Lee was unavailable. We will get to that in a bit. But yes, if you were watching the video.
Don't put this on me. You had jury duty for 2 weeks. Give me a break.
But I still found a time to record.
Was at a sporting event. Give me a break.
The sporting event was over Saturday.
I was at the movie premiere. Give me a break.
Oh, my God. Anyway, if you're watching the video of the podcast, there's a gentleman that who's been watching the two of us go back and forth. He, of course, is the vice president of publishing at Zen Studios. He's an old friend of the show. He was on our live show at PAX West, episode number 21. He's our first returning guest, officially our first returning guest in the episode.
He's also a horrendous predictor. But horrible predictor.
He is one of the biggest 49er fans we know, so we had to have him on for our Super Bowl episode, especially because, yes, the Niners are in the Super Bowl. Mel Kirk. Mel, how are you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. Niners! And yeah, let's talk about it. Let's just get it out of the way. I know what the heck's going to go on, but yeah, we're all pumped out here in California, NorCal. Ray, I know you're in Southern California, but Niner fans are hyped up. We're excited. Some of us don't believe what's going on right now, but it's a good time.
Yes, we will get into your now infamous prediction a little later, but before we get into that, it has been we would be remiss to not start with this. Of course, it was a very tragic weekend in sports in a lot of ways. We had the Pro Bowl, we had the NHL All-Star game, and then Sunday morning, unfortunately, going to be Hall of Famer Kobe Bryant, absolute legendary NBA player, 5-time champion with the Lakers, passed away along with 8 others, including his daughter Gigi, in the most just a tragic way. It was a helicopter crash in Calabasas, and yes, we just want to start with that. I know a bit of a downer note, but guys, what are your thoughts on this horrific accident, this tragedy, on Kobe? Mel, let's start with you. What were you thinking when you heard the news late Sunday morning, early afternoon?
I mean, to be honest with you, I thought it was one of these like fake out things, just fake news. I didn't believe it. And then reports started coming across. I was getting ready to watch some Pro Bowl, and I turned over to NBA TV and ESPN, and like literally just for 5 hours sat there and watched this, and it was really, really difficult actually. I can't think of somebody passing that has immediately had more of an impact like on the world. Just everyone kind of stunned, saddened, feeling the same emotion together. I couldn't believe it. And I grew up watching Kobe. I was like 14, I think, when he was drafted to the NBA. I'm not a Laker fan by any means, but it was just unavoidable to be a fan and to just be so caught up in what he was all about and his drive to win. And I spent the last couple of days with my daughters like showing them his highlight reels after I heard this whole girl dad thing. That's totally me. I'm a girl dad. I got daughters 9 and 10, and suddenly Kobe just like hadn't thought about him in a while, but he's had a new impact in my life. So I'm sorry to see this happen, and all the rest of those on board, and his beautiful daughter as well.
Lee, what about you? What were you thinking? You were in St. Louis when it happened. You were attending the All-Star Game festivities, but of course this transcended all sports. So this wasn't just basketball fans. This was everybody. What happened with what did you think when you heard?
Yeah, it rattled me, man, bad. I'll tell you, like I was just leaving the gym, and Travis, who is my co-host on another show, said, "Hey, show me his phone." Just like Mel, first thing I did is like, well, what's the source on this? And then I looked at the news feed, and I was like, oh my God, this is real. And it rattled me. And, what's funny is, Ray and Mel, you too, probably, you kind of know how media works. And, my first thing was, you got to let this kind of play out and see what happened. And, they said there's multiple people on board. So my first thought is, God, I hope his family's not there. And then, it's tough because here's the thing, man. his death reminds us all that life is precious. It reminds us all that this man who was probably invincible in most people's minds is not invincible. And what I found amazing was that for the shortest glimmer of time, we all as a country, probably as a world, came together again, thus showing that we want to be together at the end of the day. When tragedy strikes, we tend to console each other. And what's weird is that, I was saying that for 12 hours we'll be together, and then the news cycle will start. You'll start getting people talking about his past, and then political parties will start to claim him as their own, and we'll kind of sink back out of it. But this man had so much power that for the briefest of moments, we were all together and grieving together, and we still are. And the thing is, everyone knows me. I'm a hockey guy, but I'm linked to this man, as many people are, in a weird way. He grew up in Ardmore, Pennsylvania. He went to Lower Merion High School, which is, Ray, I don't know if you know this, is legit the town next to me where I grew up. So he played my high school when I was growing up, and I remember hearing about this kid, this NBA player that was beating up my high school team, and he did. And then, obviously in 2001 beating the Sixers, so he's been this presence in my life. But the biggest impact I wanted to say was, I read Phil Jackson's book. I read a lot about Kobe Bryant, and there's a lot of athletes that have done this for a lot of people, but Kobe Bryant is the first athlete that, through reading about him and watching him, really taught me what it takes at a competitive level to make it, not just in basketball, but in everything. And he applied that never die logic to everything. He put everything in it. Losing was not an option for him. And, when I think about the endeavors in my life, I started to realize how much of an influence he was on me. And that's why it rattled me. And then obviously also, and Mel, you said this, you're a father. I'm a father. When you hear that someone, and multiple daughters on that plane, the helicopter, it's devastating. My first thought is with the family. The only solace I took, and I don't know if you guys read this, but the only solace I took was, I read yesterday that it sounded like the helicopter kind of went right into a hill, like there was an impact, right? It wasn't like this slow kind of thing. And I actually took a little solace in that because it sounds like it was very quick. And the worst thought I can think of is that man, knowing they're going down with his kid in the plane. Like, that terrified me. I'm being very real with all of you right now. It terrified me, that thought. And it teaches us to hug your loved ones, and you just don't know when it's going to happen, and you got to take it a day at a time and live in the moment and really enjoy the moment. And like I said, super somber thoughts right here, but I'm being real about it. Like, his legacy is going to live on. He had a massive impact on the world in sports, but everything. Man won an Oscar.
Yeah.
I hope that we notice that time when we were all together. I hope that gives me hope again for us as a species, really, that we can come together. And it is that big of a deal for me. Like, we came together again. I haven't seen that since 9/11. That should say the impact this man had on people. So again, sorry for going a little long there, but I've been thinking about him since this happened. It really rattled me, and this is the first time I publicly spoke about it. So I appreciate both of you listening to it.
Yeah, no, it for me too. I think that when it happened, you kind of don't believe it at first. You think it's some sort of a hoax, right? Like everybody, like you guys, you search multiple news sources, but NBA TV was reporting it, and ESPN was reporting it, and I hate to be negative, but also shame on TMZ for reporting it before the police could notify the family. Yeah. That turned my stomach when I found that out. But I'm sorry, to celebrate Kobe and to, Mamba mentality. I think something now is something that people are going to really embrace, and that's going to be, I think he's going to leave a legacy like few people have before him. It's a shame that he wasn't able to build on that legacy, because to think of the legacy he's going to leave in the short time he had here just shows how impactful he was as a player and as a person.
It's a great point. Right? Yeah.
A lot of people, I think, are going to become to try and find the light at the end of the tunnle, I guess, is that I think this is going to inspire a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
People are going to look to him as the inspiration that he was. As Lee, as you mentioned, some folks looked into his past. He wasn't a perfect person. No one is.
No.
But goodness knows that he tried his best to redeem himself as a man who was dedicated to his family, dedicated to his craft, dedicated to the sport, dedicated to Los Angeles. The outpouring of love out here in LA. People are still lining up at Staples Center, still leaving flowers, wreaths, candles. And also to the folks at the Grammys, screw you guys for being like, please, we're trying to do the Grammys here while you're mourning Kobe Bryant. Shut up. Yeah. That was ridiculous. Talk about the music industry being tone deaf for a moment in time. I found the irony in that. Sorry, again, I went negative again. When I'm trying to be positive, but
there's a lot of emotion surrounding it, Ray. And
yeah.
Everybody responds differently, but this is what I was saying. If you're responding, you care. Whether it's really negative or really positive, there's just no denying the impact that this man had on humanity. And I think a majority of it is positive in terms of, like I said, what he was able to do to inspire people. And it's a loss. It's a magic loss. And like I said, a lot of people hugging their loved ones more. And that is a win. Kobe wins. That's a win. Not that we want him not to be here, but he will never be forgotten. There's just no other way to say it. He's never going to be forgotten.
There's also a few celebs who have been, finally speaking out publicly and just saying, like, this is changing the entire way that they're going to operate and how they're going to deal with people and with problems. They're just realizing things about life and the impact that Kobe had on them. I read a thing about 50 Cent this morning. I saw Shaq's response last night. The guy, I mean, he's broken, and he's just saying, like, I got to be better as a person. So I think Kobe's legacy, is going to, I hope it you can already see it starting to impact society and his post-life legacy. So we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to wrap up this segment. Again, also our thoughts, of course, with his family and his friends, and also the family and friends of the other people on the copter.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't forget that there was 7 other people who passed away on that, who weren't related to Kobe Bryant, who passed away. It's just a very tragic event all around. And our thoughts and our I hate to say thoughts and prayers, but our thoughts and prayers, of course, go out to his friends and his family and his fans and everybody else. Everybody who's, like Lee said, everybody is mourning right now. It's rare that a figure can unite us like this so universally, but Kobe did that. And so this one is dedicated to the Black Mamba. All right. Super Bowl. I know, not my best transition.
Let me transition for you, Ray. Mel, you made the worst prediction in football history. And I want to shove it in your face that you made the dumbest prediction ever. And I know that there's no one happier than you with your prediction.
I have never been so happy to be so wrong.
Yeah.
And my prediction was 4-12?
4-12.
Yes, you predicted 4-12 back in August.
You're like sturdy, 4-12's a win for us, man.
A little asterisk. I hope I'm wrong.
You did say that.
Of course.
You did say that. We'll give you that.
You were already looking forward to the draft. You were looking forward to the draft pick you were going to have.
Yeah.
I will own it. It was the worst prediction. I came up with that prediction after listening to, of course, the critics, listening to the local beat writers, listening to friends, listening to the history of the Niners, our recent history. I thought we had one bad year left, and then we would turn the corner. Did not see this coming, man. Like, our front four on defense were just way better and way faster together than I thought they would be. Our offense, like guys like Deebo Samuel, like once he figured out how to catch the ball, was a beast on the field. Kittle, I think actually one of the funnest things we did at PAX was we said, what would you rename your team? We talked about. And I said they would be the San Francisco Mistborn, dude. I think they played with some sort of Mistborn magic this year. Kittle running down the field with guys holding on his face mask and just dragging them, and just their mentality as a team, like, this went next level. We're in the Super Bowl. Like, we're going to the freaking Super Bowl.
Now, Ray is from New York, so he's never surprised when his teams make the final of anything. They're just supposed to be there. But I understand that feeling completely. I do want to put in here, Ray, real quick, that I did predict the Eagles to win the NFC East. And then throughout the season, I didn't expect them to win the NFC East, and then they did. I have to throw that in there. I think you did too, Ray, to be fair.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't think anybody was surprised that the Eagles won. It was just how they did it because they dug themselves such a hole.
Yeah, but the NFC East isn't in the Super Bowl. They're not.
No,
the 49ers.
It's the NFC West. Yes, it's the 49ers versus the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs, handedly defeated the Titans. The Niners decimated the Packers. I mean, they just tore the Packers apart.
2 times this year. 2 times.
Yes.
Let's not forget. Twice this year.
Yes. I mean, and Garoppolo only threw the ball 8 times in the NFC
unreal.
Championship.
That's unreal.
I mean, this just shows, folks, again, we've been preaching it all year long. Defense and a running game will win you championships. You saw it's what got the Titans as far as it got them. Obviously, the Niners relied a lot on their defense this year. Garoppolo, mind you, this is the thing. I was a little surprised by your prediction initially, Mel, because Garoppolo coming back, my big thing was if Jimmy G could stay healthy, I thought you guys were going to definitely be better than you were last year. So when you said 4-12, I was kind of surprised, but no, I think we were all in agreement. I don't think anybody expected the Niners to be a Super Bowl team, right? Like, and there was a lot of teams you thought the Rams maybe seeing what their hangover was post Super Bowl last year. The Seahawks were going to obviously be a strong team, but you had the Packers, you had the Vikings, you had the Saints, nobody from the NFC East. But you had a lot of other strong teams in the NFC, but the Niners conquered them all. I mean, and congrats to you, dude. I mean, and you guys really, really handily. I mean, you guys look like you're the team to beat. Honestly, I mean, if I had to pick, I mean, it's been the kiss of death this playoffs, Mel. But I'm going to say right now, like with my 3 and
don't do it.
If I had to choose, I would probably have to choose your Niners right now as the team, be the champion. But I'm also going to be fair. I am rooting for Kansas City just because it's been 50 years since Kansas City's won a Super Bowl. Literally, none of us were born when the Kansas City Chiefs were last the champion. So I mean, as a Niners fan, what do you think of your opponent when you analyze? What do you think of this matchup? How good are you feeling going into this game, or are you concerned at all?
Look, what gives me a lot of confidence is the fact that we took care of Seattle. And Mahomes to me isn't any better than Russell Wilson. I think Wilson's got more experience. He's been in the big games. They beat us that one time, but we were on that Monday Night Football game. We were down, like we didn't have Kittle. We were beat up everywhere. Front four weren't there. Defense was, really hurt. We had a lot of drop passes. So I think we should have won that game as well. But the fact that we came in and beat Seattle in a must-have game, it was by inches, but we did it. We played like 5 playoff games in a row, really, we would have been the 6th seed or the number 1 seed, and a lot of those games were just won in the final minutes by a few points. I think we've got some experience. I think we've got the mindset. Our guys are tough, and I think that really, as long as we contain Mahomes and we keep the ball out of his hands, we control the clock. Our running game, we got Mostert back there. If we're just getting his 6-yard average per game, we're going to control the field, the time. I think that's the winning formula. I'm feeling very confident. Still respect the Chiefs. Like by no means are they like a weak opponent, or they're probably, in my opinion, it's going to be like a Seahawks game. Like a score like that where it might come down to the final play. But I think we're going to take it.
Lee, what are your thoughts on the Chiefs versus Niners? What are you feeling right now?
Yeah, so my coaching mind typically goes to kind of things like the story and what's your why, right? Because my attitude is when you get to the Super Bowl, you deserve to be there, right? You always tell us these things, the Niners this or if you're in the bowl, you deserve to be in the bowl, all right? You don't just show up there. Like, you've earned your right to be there. And what I see here is 2 teams of destiny, which is, as a football fan, awesome. Okay, my attitude is this: if both teams show up, we're in for an unbelievable game. All right, because both these teams have a why they should win that's really strong. The Niners who've come out of nowhere and just this is a team of destiny. And then you look at Kansas City, which is like they should have been there before and they haven't done it. And Andy Reid actually did something smart with clock management with 2 minutes left for the first time in his life a few weeks ago. I'm gonna, and again, Mel, I'm going to give a prediction here that's for Kansas City, but I must tell you that I don't care who wins. I'm happy either way. I'm just using my mind, but I actually pick Kansas City 24-21 in this game. And that could flip so easily, right? What I don't want is, and I don't think this will happen, is a team just to accidentally not show up or overlook their opponent, which, again, I can't imagine either team's going to do that. All right, but I think this will be close. My prediction, again, is that a team that wears red will win the game.
Okay. You got it.
And I'm undefeated. There. I'm undefeated when I make predictions. No, I'm picking Kansas City just by a nose. And I think it's only because, and again, I think about the why. I just think they're, and again, no disrespect to the 49ers, I think they have to be a little bit hungrier in my mind, but that doesn't mean the Niners can't do it. You know what I'm trying to say? But I told Ray I would do it. I'm putting myself out there. Kansas City 24-21.
I'm with you guys. I think this is going to be a one possession game. Like, this is going to come down to maybe who has the ball last. I could definitely see it being like a field goal game where it's right now I'm leaning 27-24 Niners.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be close. I think, again, kind of echoing what Mel said, the running game, the Niners have a better running game. The Niners have a better defense. You know, obviously the Kansas City defense isn't something to sleep on, but they're also a team that, I mean, they both the games they won in the playoffs, they had to come from behind. They were down 24-0 to Houston. But also a credit to their offense. That offense can strike lightning quick. They scored 28 points in the second quarter, and they were down 24-0 with 10 minutes left in the second quarter. Went into the half 28-24, including Mahomes making one of the best runs I've ever seen.
It's unbelievable.
And then they were down again. They were down 17. They were down 10-0 against Tennessee and 17-7 against Tennessee, against a much better defense than what Houston has. And again, ended up absolutely trouncing them.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very, very interesting to see. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see. Yeah. It's the lightning quick offense of the Chiefs against a very stout defense of the Niners. I think it could also come down to the Chiefs are a defense that live and die in the turnover. Jimmy G is not a guy who really turns the ball over, but
he's got to throw the ball to do that, though.
Yeah. Well, no, exactly, but you never know, right? Like, you never know if he, again, these are two young quarterbacks. I also want to get your guys' thought on, is this a passing of the torch? No Brady, no Breeze, no older quarterbacks. You got two young guys, Mahomes in his third or fourth year. Jimmy G, obviously his third year as a starter.
I hope so.
I hope it's a passing.
So. Yeah.
But Mel, what are your thoughts on two young quarterbacks here, two up and coming superstars in the league as the starting quarterbacks here in Super Bowl 54?
Yeah, well, especially on the AFC side, I look at who I thought could have gone to the Super Bowl was Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, who's definitely like new gen. You look at who was on the Titans. His name's passing me by right now. Sorry, not Tannehill. I guess he is Tannehill, but there's another one on there, and then
Mariota,
and Mahomes. Like, I think all three of those on the AFC side represent a definite passing of the torch. That's not Brady by any means. And on our side, Garoppolo, he doesn't run, but he came up under Belichick, and he's Brady-esque. Like, he doesn't make the mistakes. He's a new name. People are still figuring out. There's still a big question out there whether he's legit or not. You look at his numbers. Of course he is. If you spend any time studying him, you watch the Niners this year, the guy's legit. He's elite. So for me, not having one of the old names or the Super Bowl having to pass through the Patriots this year is so refreshing. And I think it is a passing of the torch.
Lee, what about you? What do you think of the youngsters, young gunslingers there at QB at Super Bowl 54 and down in Miami?
Yeah, well, I hate to be a homer too, but we do have to add Wentz to this conversation because he does count as a passing of the torch. No, he does. Come on, he's only been in the league 3 years, and he's.
I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I mean, he's won a Super Bowl, and he's got. I mean, the Eagles had no place being in the playoffs this year. That was all him. Yes, fair. I think this is very much maybe passing the torch isn't the right wording for me, but we're evolving. I mean, Mahomes as a quarterback has done things I've never seen anybody do. Jackson, the same thing. Garoppolo is just steady. I mean, it's not a redemption story, Mel. You'd probably be able to help me out with this more, but there was so many question marks, obviously, when he left New England and what's he going to do. I mean, there's a story there about this man, and he's often under the radar of a lot of the other names that we've been speaking about. The other question I'm asking you that, but I also wanted to ask you, Mel, is that I'm guessing the 49ers kind of fan base, you guys must have like a little bit of an underdog attitude right now, right?
Well, totally. The mantra here is 49er faithful because we've had not a lot to cheer about for the last decade, right? And
in a new stadium.
Yeah. Actually, all of a sudden the stadium is beautiful and people love it. And, God, dude, it's still the worst stadium but we're just all pretending like it's awesome because now our team's in the Super Bowl. But yeah, when Garoppolo came over, there was kind of like everyone was kind of scratching their head and they're like, this could be good. Time will tell, of course, with the new management coming in. The Yorks kind of botched it there for a while, the owners of the team. And then, they brought in this new management level and everyone was kind of like, okay, what's going on? And they trade for Garoppolo and they said, all right, well, he came up under Brady and Belichick. Let's see. He's had just a few moments. And then he played and we actually turned the whole season around. Like I think we almost ended up 500. He came in and won every game. And there was a lot of belief. Then he comes in next season injured. He's out after a couple games. And
against the Chiefs of all teams, by the way.
Against the Chiefs.
Yeah. That's a good point.
So story short was like nobody really knew what to expect. They thought if we have a full season with Garoppolo, we're going to be better.
Yeah.
But this season we thought the offense isn't ready yet because sure we got Garoppolo, but who's he throwing to? We had no receivers until we went out and got Sanders, and then Deebo Samuel came along and Kittle turned into it. Like we knew, but Kittle can't catch everything. The running game was not what it was last year. Our front line had been aging. Staley's an old man, but still like played with total belief this year and unbelievable again. So all these pieces, everyone like, yeah, maybe they're there eventually, and Garoppolo can like manage this thing, but it happened so fast. Is kind of like
you just kept winning.
Is this for real? And
yeah,
and he's kind of like one of those guys, these quarterbacks that just find ways to win, like Rodgers in his early days, taking over from Favre, or call it Brady when he came in for Bledsoe back in the day.
Yeah.
They just showed up. They're ready to go. Their mentality is right. Their skill is there, and they manage the game.
What's funny is we said in Philadelphia, if we could get Wentz for a full season, we'd probably be good. We just didn't expect every other player on the team to get injured. So just so you guys know, that's a bad tactic. You need everyone. Just kidding. Yeah.
I was going to say, Mel. I mean, you mentioned the front office. General Manager John Lynch, NFL Executive of the Year this year, by the way, came in, a former Super Bowl winner himself with the Tampa Bay Bucks. Really kind of did turn your team around with some smart moves. Obviously, you mentioned the Sanders trade, but obviously with his draft picks, like everybody seemed to mature at just the right time. You didn't know what you're getting out of Debo, but and also the running back by committee. You guys have three legitimate running backs, and it seems like every other game it's a different guy who's leading you in carries or in yards. I think it was Coleman against the Vikings. Obviously, it was Mostert last week or 2 weeks ago against the Packers. Like it just seems to be like you guys, whenever somebody needs to step up, they step up, and that really is the mark of a champion. Whether or not that'll happen on Sunday, we'll see. But that so far. Credit to John Lynch in that front office for getting these guys together, and Kyle Shanahan for getting these guys to believe. So
let's just hope. You mentioned Andy Reid with clock management. Shanahan's had some moments, and I don't want to talk about it, but I feel like he's ironed it out. And I mean, he was the offensive coordinator. What was that with the Saints when when they made those calls and everyone questioned, what happened, but
the Falcons and the Falcons in the Super Bowl against the Patriots.
The Falcons, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Got so much stuff rattling around in my head. Yeah.
Can you imagine? I just realized this. Can you imagine what would happen if we got to the end of the game and one of the coaches did one of those, two delay game penalties or the can you imagine if it gets down to that and then somehow Belichick managed to get himself into the Super Bowl with that? Yeah. We were joking about it. Oh man, go ahead.
I kind of think about that with the Seahawks too. I mean, they could have been the 1 seed if they hadn't run. Okay, I'm bad with names. It's like flipping them on like that, but when they ran Lynch out there to try to win it, and they got the delay game call, which backed them up to the 6.
Unbelievable.
I mean, that's the difference between the 1 seed and the 6 seed, right? And that's a bonehead, like the coach, like he just like
he's known to do stupid.
Carroll
things.
just messed that one up.
The thing is, it's funny because he's won, so nobody says anything. But I'm like, this guy's made some of the worst decisions in football.
No, for sure. That is the thing, right? He won a Super Bowl in which he didn't have to make any decisions, right? He blew the Broncos out 43-8. But in the close games, Carroll's made some of the worst calls at the professional level we've probably seen in the past 10 years. Yeah. And Lee's mentioned this before, and I think it's a great idea. You're going to start to see there's just going to be a time management coach at some point in the NFL.
I can't believe that hasn't happened yet.
Because so many head coaches don't understand how the clock works. It feels like it's unbelievable.
If you can hire a guy to pull the coach off the sideline so he doesn't have to look for the official, you can hire a clock management specialist or some mathematician that can figure this out to tell the coach this is it's amazing to me that the NFL has been around this long and this still happens. Like I don't understand it. In fact, Belichick's actually a good example of a guy who's so good at that he figured out a loop around it, and that's actually what ended up defeating him this season. We were joking about a couple episodes ago that Belichick actually found a way to defeat himself this year because he's the one who showed that loophole earlier in the season against the Jets.
The delay of game call. Yeah, the delay of game with the punt.
Mel, I want to tell you this. That I think we've been talking about you since like week 6. Because like I remember like when you guys went 4-0, we said, well, I mean, I guess they're going to lose 12 games in a row. Like we were joking about that. But as you guys went on, we kept saying like we got to get him back on. And then once you guys made the Super Bowl, I'm like, we're not doing a show unless you get on the show. Like we're going to unbelievable.
Look, like I said, I've never been feeling so good to be so wrong. The first 2 games, I knew we'd win against Tampa. Like, and that was even a close game. A lot of our games this year, after I mean, you know, they were nail biters. There was like our losses combined were like under the amount of points you can hold up on your 2 hands. It was a crazy season. And I have lifelong Niner fans here. We're gonna watch the game on Sunday. All of us are just kind of in disbelief right now. And
good feeling, though.
it's a good feeling. So I made the worst prediction. I own it. I should have more belief in my team. Shame on me. But damn it, they did play like the San Francisco Mistborn, and we're gonna carry it all the way through, baby.
Yes, in your brand new stadium. I actually went to that stadium in Santa Clara for WrestleMania a few years ago, Mel, and it's a stadium. It's a stadium.
Isn't it the worst to get in and out of?
It was rough getting there, and I mean, sure, everything's nice and new now, but I don't know. It just felt like it felt really weird that you guys put a stadium in Santa Clara.
Even down to the day games, the way that the sun is positioned, and the way where it
hit.
I mean, nobody thought about geography or anything.
We had that problem in WrestleMania. Half the crowd couldn't see what was going on
because
of the way where the sun was. Yeah, it was
John Madden.
Yeah, it's an interesting piece of architecture.
Now that the Sharks will never have a Winter Classic there.
That's actually you're true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually you're probably right. Yeah, they'll probably go play it at AT&T Park instead. Or Oracle Park now. Excuse me, it's Oracle Park.
Candlestick is still standing, guys. We can always move back.
Yeah, that would be something. Actually, that would be something. But anyway, so we've talked about the passing of the torch. We talked about these young quarterbacks. I can tell you one guy that is not part of the new generation is Daniel Jones out of Duke. Because I don't think he's gonna last past his rookie contract for the New York Giants.
I'll remember this because if he does end up winning them a Super Bowl, I'm gonna rip him on this for a long time.
Oh yeah, this will be my Mel Kirk 4-12 prediction. So
great, now I'm labeled. This is a thing now.
Would you pull a Mel Kirk? Yeah.
But anyway, so also what happened this weekend was Eli Manning, Giants, of course, longtime quarterback, 16 years in the league, retired. He finished his career with a 1-17 and 1-17 record, which people are saying is a negative. But of course, he was on some very good teams. He was on some very bad teams. The highlights: 2 Super Bowl wins against the Patriots, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. Retires 7th on the all-time passing yards and passing touchdowns list. And, of course, 216 consecutive starts. My question for you guys is, because there's a lot of controversy, this is one of the most polarizing guys I've seen when it comes to this discussion. is Eli going to be a Hall of Famer or not? Not necessarily first ballot or anything like that. Will he make the NFL Hall of Fame? Mel, I'm going to start with you.
I say yes, he will make the Hall of Fame, and it's by no means going to be first ballot. But I do think the 2 Super Bowls, the 2 Super Bowl MVPs. Are there any players that have 2 Super Bowls and 2 Super Bowl MVPs that are not Hall of Famers?
No, currently no.
I just think that's going to lock it up for him. That's my prediction.
Yeah, Lee, what about you? I know you hate talking about positively about the Giants, but
think here. What do I want to say about Eli Manning? What do I want to say?
Mind you, Eli, by the way,
Giants quarterback.
The Eagles were Eli's kryptonite. Eli finished 10-22 in his career against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Some devastating losses. I spoke about one last week, Mel, which was December 19th, 2010. Now, if you want to know why I know that date, it's the day after my wedding, and that was Miracle at the Meadowlands 2. Deshaun Jackson ran back in the last minute. Ray loves when I bring this up. He loved it. Listen, honestly, bias aside, he must be in the Hall of Fame. And here's why. What Mel just said, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, 2 Super Bowls against the evil empire. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And we have to remember here, stats aside, and stats are not horrendous. There's more about the person, about, there's more character stuff that goes into this decision too. It's not just how you played the game.
He was also a Walter Payton Man of the Year a few years ago, 2016.
He has always been an ambassador. He has always, just like his brother, class. Like I said, he was a very hard guy to hate in Philadelphia. All right. And I'm saying that as probably his greatest opponent. I think that's fair in terms of the Eagles, Ray. He must be in the Hall of Fame. Again, might not be first ballot. Okay.
Yeah.
But I can't believe I'm saying this. I don't want to be in a world where he's not in the Hall of Fame. Does that make sense? And I don't understand the controversy. I don't understand why people don't see this. I equate it again. I'm a hockey guy. It's like Eric Lindros to me, right? He's in the Hall of Fame. Never won a Stanley Cup, but he was one of the most dominant athletes of his time. Like, that was controversial for people, but it was a no-brainer once it came up. Like, this guy's got to be in the Hall of Fame. I feel the same way about Eli Manning. He will be in the Hall of Fame. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And then I never have to hear about him ever again.
It's a controversy because it's a New York media market. They need something to talk about. Like, they're not in the Super Bowl. They suck. Yeah.
Talk about Daniel Jones out of Duke.
Yeah, Daniel Jones out of Duke will not be a Hall of Famer.
Coordinators are, famous.
Yeah, no,
let you guys play the Cowboys next year. Those games are going to be fun.
Oh gosh, yeah, things do not look good in Giant Land.
No, listen, don't count them out, Ray. Somebody knows what they're doing, or they don't.
I don't think they do. I don't think they do. I want to let the Giants know, though. My phone is always on. I am available to take over the reins as GM at any given moment. I am happy to move back home and leave Los Angeles to take over the New York Giants GM duties because goodness knows anybody could do it, I think, at this point and probably do a better job. But we will see. We will see. But, yes, to go back to the topic at hand.
You predict better than Mel. We know that.
Yes.
Hey, anything can happen, Ray. Let me tell you. Make a bad, good prediction. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, well, funny enough, the Giants went 4-12 this year. Which so maybe Mel, you were just channeling the Giants with your prediction.
Pushing it over there.
Yeah, exactly. You because I think well you were only a couple of seats down at PAX. Maybe it just had leapfrogged Gordon and settled on my Giants.
Hey, come on, Guardians.
Yes, the XFL Guardians. Got to root for the New York Guardians in the XFL. That's what we're hopeful for now. But yeah, again, to tackle all your guys' points. Eli, I don't believe he's first ballot Hall of Fame. Well, depending on when the strength of the class, like what year, because it'll be 5 years from now. I don't believe he'll be first ballot, but I do believe he'll be a Hall of Famer. Again, guys who have had worse records, who have had worse stats, but who have a Super Bowl win, who have a Super Bowl MVP, and he's got 2 of them. Typically in the NFL, if you win and you're a key figure in your team winning, you end up getting in. Terry Bradshaw had more interceptions than touchdowns, I believe, in his career. But Terry Bradshaw obviously led the Pittsburgh Steelers to 4 Super Bowls, and he got a couple of MVPs out of that. Bradshaw, obviously, Hall of Fame quarterback. Nobody would argue that. So because the fact that Eli led the Giants during one of their high points that led to 2 Super Bowls, and arguably would have been 3 had Plaxico Burress not shot himself in the leg because he's a moron. You'd probably I think that gives Eli the edge. And again, also like Lee said, great guy, tremendous ambassador for the game. He was a 2016 Walter Payton Man of the Year. They don't just give those out, folks.
Ray, I got one for you.
Yeah.
You'll love this. Will Eli beat Tom Brady into the Hall of Fame for the hat trick?
That's
a good question.
Wow.
Yeah, because depending on when Tom retires.
Yeah, that's a good. It's a fair question. Or will they go in together? That would be funny as hell if they go in together.
That would be funny if they went in to get to the same class together.
I would love to hear those speeches.
But Brady's got 3 years, so he's 45. That's what he says he wants to play till.
He wants to play till he's 45. So that would give Eli a 3-year window of getting into the Hall of Fame before Tom.
I'm calling that joke now. One of them will make that joke.
So that would be fun. Because Tom tweeted as soon as he heard, he's like, congratulations, Eli's a tremendous guy, amazing football player. I really wish you didn't win any Super Bowls, though.
Yeah, that was good.
That was very good. So, yeah, obviously it shows a sense of awareness. I will say that if Tom plays till he's 45 and gives Eli like that 3-year head start, I say Eli beats Tom Brady. If Tom ends up retiring, if nobody signs Tom Brady this year and Tom Brady changes his mind and retires this year,
he won't.
Well,
he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I'm going to say Eli beats Tom Brady.
Here's the best case scenario. They get inducted the same year, but Eli gets to give his speech first.
Actually, that's what they would do. They would purposely do that because you'd want Tom Brady obviously giving his speech. He'd be the headliner of that Hall of Fame class.
Eli's opening for Tom.
Yeah.
The opener.
You know what? That would be fair. That would be fine. I would accept it.
Yes. I am okay with that. All right. So, guys, also this weekend we mentioned it very briefly at the top, Pro Bowl, which Mel, I think you were looking to watch. I didn't. I completely forgot the Pro Bowl happened. I shouldn't say forgot. I remembered it was on. I think I watched like 5 seconds of like the second quarter, and then was like, I'm gonna go play video games. NHL.
Let me back up for you. When I say I was gonna watch the Pro Bowl, it was on. It was just on. Okay, it was just like on the TV.
I love that you had to qualify that.
I was actually reading a book, and it was just on the TV, and that's what. Yeah.
It was background noise. It was background noise.
Yeah.
It was a warm up because you need that fix in the off week between the Super Bowl. You need to hear pads clashing. And Lee, of course, was in. We'll start with that because Lee, you were in St. Louis for the NHL All-Star Game. So let's start with there. Lee, how was the NHL All-Star Game? How was it being in St. Louis for the event? And then I want to get into our topic at hand. But how was St. Louis, Lee? Tell us about the All-Star Game.
Yeah, it was great. They did I'll tell you this right now. St. Louis did a really great job hosting the All-Star Game. Like the trick with All-Star Games as a host, we're not talking about legitimizing All-Star Games right now, but as a host, the trick is really on you to kind of represent your own team and the other clubs at the same time. All right. And I thought they did a really great job with their alumni. Brett Hull was there. Gretzky was there. Chris Pronger was there, but he wasn't like visible, but I know he was there because I saw him. Fedorko was there. Al McInnes was there. I mean, these are the heroes of the past.
Totally.
Yeah.
And obviously the team just won the Stanley Cup, which is like, could not have a better scenario.
Yeah.
And I was there. I went through Fan Fest. Every single trophy was there, including the Stanley Cup. Every single trophy was there. And the Blues fans were it was euphoric for them. I mean, they're still celebrating their win. I did see a few Kansas City jerseys walking around, which was cool. And Ryan O'Reilly actually came out to the skills competition wearing a Kansas City helmet. So they did a really good job as a celebration of the game. I thought from a fan point of view, they really nailed it. They really they set a standard that people need to shoot for. Again, hosting an All-Star game is not easy. It's not easy. One of the funniest moments was actually Patrick Kane, who plays for the Chicago Blackhawks, which is the arch enemy of the St. Louis Blues. It's only 4 hours from the arch, and they were cheering for him. And they sent out this great tweet. It's like, did we just cheer for Patrick Kane? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was a really fun environment. It was a cold time too. It was snowing half the time. I thought they did a great job.
Cool. Very cool. So I completely forgot when anything was going on with the NHL skills competition, the All-Star game. Me and my friend, we were talking. We went out to lunch. We're like, wasn't the All-Star game supposed to be that day? Like, yeah. Like, let's go get a beer. Like,
Ray
we were like,
yeah.
Huh?
Ray hates All-Star games. He hates them all.
Yeah. So as I've gotten older and more curmudgeonly, I have taken it upon myself because seasons have become so long, and the All-Star game, Pro Bowl, whatever you want to call them, they have really no meaning. They are, and nowadays, because players don't want to get hurt, because players don't want to go put everything out there, because a lot of players, even if they're in hockey, would rather have the days off than go to go on the road for most of them and play another game. Obviously, Ovechkin was probably the highlight of this year, saying like, "Yeah, I don't want to go to the All-Star game. I want to rest." My concern is breaking several of Gretzky's goal records. That's my
and
focus.
winning. He was pretty clear. Like the Caps have a real chance of winning the Cup this year too.
No, for sure. Again, and like that's his focus, and I actually commend him for being like, I'd rather get healthy and like take this time off because this game is meaningless.
He made the right decision for his team. And then Marc-Andre Fleury also missed, but that was his father passed early in the season, so he wanted some time with his family, which I think everybody was pretty understanding of.
Right. So my point is, why don't we just get rid of these like games, shorten the seasons by a week, or give these guys like a 3-day weekend at some point in the middle of the season? They need to break that bad. Because if there's what's the purpose of these games anymore, right? And it's not really. Sure, you can celebrate the sport, but like you can do that at any time in a myriad of ways. Like it feels like taking an entire week out of the season. Teams lose momentum because of the All-Star break. I've seen this with the Rangers for years. I've seen the Rangers like no. Seriously, I remember.
I agree with you.
Like there were Ranger teams that were doing fantastically. All-Star break happens, they fall apart. They didn't even make the playoffs. This was the early 2000s. I mean, and it's like the All-Star game. For some teams, you can turn it on after the All-Star game because you get the second half of the season. But even at the Pro Bowl, it's why even bother? Guys hate the Pro Bowl because they don't get to go to Hawaii. The guy's like, why the heck do I want to go to Miami? What's in my who wants to go to Miami? Even the Dolphins are like, I don't want to be in Miami. Like, what's going on here? Like, I can't. To me, the All-Star games, the Pro Bowls, the NBA All-Star game, they have no purpose. They have no point. They are nothing but a waste of time. And they kill momentum. And as a fan, I can't stand watching them because the players don't go all out. The players don't care, so why should I care most of the time? Mel, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on All-Star games and Pro Bowls and all this other stuff?
Well, look, I mean, like the MLB All-Star game actually means something, right? You get home field advantage for.
They got rid of that rule a couple years ago.
What? Where have I been?
Yeah, they got rid of that rule a couple of years ago. So again,
most people don't realize that, Mel.
I didn't even realize that. Maybe so. I've been thinking the All-Star game is actually worthwhile. I was going to just say, if the game doesn't mean anything to the players, it's supposed to be the celebration for fans, for the sport. Okay, I think there's different ways that they could accomplish that. I'd be interested to see the economics behind these events and for the cities that they bring it to, and kind of a rallying point for like fans of a sport in a market. That's the only thing I can come back to as to why these things are still done, because you're right. I mean, like, there's no relevance. So just finding out that the MLB All-Star game doesn't even matter now for which team gets home field for the for World Series, I now think that they are all completely meaningless, and I don't see a reason to continue. So although it is, hey, this year NBA All-Star game might mean something a little different because of like what just happened with Kobe.
That's true. That's
so maybe
that's true.
Like this, we might have like something special this year for NBA, but
they will.
In the big picture things, you guys you're right. I mean, these are just pointless games. It opens up for injury. It opens up for teams to lose momentum. Guys who aren't involved probably go home and get unfocused. I know what I would do if I had a week off and a ton of money and do whatever I want to do. Right, I'm gonna go party. Who knows how they're coming back? Like, they're coming back in bad shape, baby. I mean, like, that's how it is. So yeah.
Lee?
Yeah, so listen, I'll say this because this is one of those debates. Like, I could be turned either way. I'm not against the All-Star game personally, but that comes with a lot of asterisks. asterisks is that a word? Anyway, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
All right. So first is this, Mel, you mentioned the economics of it. This is a major moneymaker for the cities that hold them. In fact, I was never more sure of that one after being in St. Louis. So at least in the NHL, I don't know if it's like this with the other leagues, but in the NHL, the teams actually bid to host these things because it brings in so much money. And it is a spectacle for the game. But that doesn't take away what you guys are saying about their effort level. Now, the NHL is a really interesting example because the NHL All-Star Game was getting really bad, really, really bad 5-6 years ago. I mean, it was unbearable to watch, as you said.
Yeah.
And I give the NHL a lot of credit because they did change things. The NHL has a 3-on-3 tournament where the two divisions in each conference play each other, and then there's a championship game. So there's actually 3 games. So it's something a little bit different. And what they also did is they incentivized it with the winning team gets $1 million. All right. So the last game is typically pretty competitive without any hitting, but it's not hockey. You know, I'll be the first one to admit that. It's just fun. The thing that All-Star weekends really stick out to me, it's actually not the game. It's the skills competitions and the home run derbies. Even with the NFL, the Pro Bowl, I watched the dodgeball competition. I was actually enjoying that, watching the dodgeball. Lamar Jackson actually won the MVP of that. But like watching a bunch of NFL players play dodgeball was actually really entertaining. But it's also a clown show when you think about it. Like, and that's not lost on me. Okay, but I as a kid, as an athlete, I loved the skills competition because it kind of gave me a bar to shoot for. But the game is always again, Ray, I'll prove this to you right now, Ray. Right, like. You probably can't tell me who won the last 10 All-Star games in Major League Baseball, but I bet you can tell me who run the home run derbies in some of them. You know what I mean? So there is a lasting impact. Now, does that need to be done during the season? I don't know. I mean, I can tell you this too, from an athletic point of view and a coaching point of view. A lot of players look forward to that break more than you think. Like, remember, majority of the players aren't there, and they really need that, especially in a game like ice hockey. Now, obviously football has the bye week. Major League Baseball players get injured, although I think they're wusses compared to hockey players. But the same thing in basketball, right? Like a lot of players look to that break. So where you do say guys get off track, which is probably very true, a guy like Ovechkin can get refocused and get ready for the second half of the season. And he's not getting younger. I mean, he's 35, 36. I think he's 35 years old. And he's chasing a god. I mean, I've said this before, not to change topics here, but like, people do not understand how good Wayne Gretzky is at hockey. There is probably no other male athlete that has dominated their sport like this man. The only one close was going to be Tiger Woods, and he screwed that up, right? And I mean, now in female sports, obviously Serena Williams. I mean, there are plenty of examples, but he's chasing a god, and he's willing to sit the game for it. So again, I have a lot of different reasons for liking it. I'm not against it. I'm not saying that I watch it as intently as an actual game, but I understand the purpose of it. And I think also when I saw the fans this weekend, I mean, guys, they loved it. I mean, they were really into it. It really was a celebration of the game. And Ray knows this, Mel, you don't. I was actually with a lot of the players. Like, I was hanging out with a lot of the players. Yeah. And they were excited to be there. I mean, it was a big deal for them. And the last thing I want to say, I'm sorry, this is really important too. This is something the NHL has done that no other sport has done. And I have to say it because it's a big deal. At this year's skills competition, they actually had the women's USA and Canadian team play each other at the event. This comes a year after Kendall LaCoin skated in one of the events and actually won. She would have won the fastest skater event, which if she was actually in it. So they're actually incorporating the women's game into this, which is really important because hockey's attitude is very much becoming like hockey's hockey. Doesn't matter if it's men or women. That was super ambitious to me, like to do that. Now, we still have a long way to go in that world with that, in my opinion, but this was an opportunity to put the women at center stage, and they did. I found that really, really cool. You know what I mean? Like that's a way to use this All-Star weekend in a different way other than just here come the athletes, not giving a crap. You know what I mean? And then, what the question I'll throw back to both of you is this, totally get it. Like you guys sit on this place where like they can get rid of it and I'm fine. Moving that aside, what could they do to these games for you to make them more enjoyable? And don't say something as simple as, well, the athletes have to try, because that's not going to happen. Like what could they do to make to sell you on this?
Well, you know what actually I was thinking is that as you were talking about this is that, well, first off, I think you could give the players, you can give everybody a break, a shorter break in the middle of the season, like I said, around the holiday or whatever, especially for like the NBA or NHL. Give them 5 days off, right? That's fine.
They usually give about 48 just for context. Ray's right. They usually get about 48 hours off right now.
Right, but like give them like 5 or 6 days then. And that's perfectly fine because like most of us are probably really busy with the holidays anyway ourselves. And we wouldn't miss it if there was no sport then in that particular time period.
Yeah, we wouldn't have to watch the Cowboys on Christmas every year.
Yeah,
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, yeah. But what would be interesting, I think, is move the events to the middle of the off season. If you had the home run derby in a warm weather city in December or January, I would probably be really excited because as a baseball fan, it's like, oh, I get a little bit of a baseball fix.
Yeah.
In the middle of the off season, guys who are probably starting their training regimen then anyway early, do it during spring training, even beginning of spring training, right? Do it in February down in the Cactus League, down in Tampa, down in Miami, down in Arizona or wherever, and do the same thing. Have the Pro Bowl for the NFL the same weekend as the draft. Have it lead into the NFL draft in April. And the same thing with hockey, right? In the middle of summer. How great would it be if these guys were doing something? Because we do it here in LA all the time. We spend way too much power keeping these outdoor rinks going in Los Angeles when it's a 75-degree day, and people are like, oh, isn't this great? We're ice skating outside Staples Center when it's 75 freaking degrees out. Do it in this. Do something. Give me a gimmick. Do it something like it's the middle of July. But and bring the Stanley Cup around, right? Have the Stanley Cup on display, like you said there, and have these guys do a competition in the off season to give people who love these sports, who are obsessed with these sports, a little bit of that fix. Because I know, Lee, I knew you were getting stir crazy in July when you're like, "There's only baseball. It's only baseball. I have nothing else. It's only baseball."
No, that time of year kills me. It's interesting. I mean, this is one of the things you have to go sport by sport, right, guys? Baseball players would argue, like, look, I want to be in mid-season form when I'm doing a home run derby. I'm not going to be able to do this in the middle of the winter. But at the same time, the Pro Bowl guys probably don't look at that. What's funny is the NHL, the original NHL All-Star game, like the way they used to do it, was the Stanley Cup champion would take on a team of All-Stars. Right. And it's funny because they were kind of split on who would win that. It wasn't always the All-Star team that won. That would be a little different today, but that's something that that's something different, right? Wouldn't you want to see I mean, let's do football. Let's just say the Niners win on Sunday. Wouldn't you see the Niners play a bunch of All-Stars? I mean, that would be really interesting. You know what I mean?
I like Ray. I like your idea. I think that would give it more of its own thing. Something to look forward to. For me, it's easy. I think make the game worth something somewhere to, some implication for a playoff or for finals or something. And I don't know, that just makes it more interesting to watch. For me, I always thought on Major League Baseball side of things, being an Oakland A's fan and always hoping we're going to someday make the World Series on our Billy Bean budget, if the AL wins, that means we have a home field advantage. So. Yeah. To me, you got to make the game worth something somewhere. That would just make it more competitive and probably fun to watch.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think definitely. I think it was a mistake. It was a great idea when baseball implemented that 20 years ago, and I think it was a bad idea when they took it away.
That was 20 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, they implemented it. I remember
that
specifically.
That was 20 years ago.
Yeah, they implemented. I want to say 2002. I think was the first year they implemented that.
I guess we were in college, weren't we? Damn.
Yeah.
Oh, that just happened.
Because that was the Diamondbacks Yankees World Series, right? Where it was the first.
It was the year after that. That was specifically they were like how different would that World Series have been had the Yankees had home field advantage, and that's when they were like, let's make the All-Star game worth something to have these players kind of play. So I want to say it was 2002, 2003 was when they started to toy around with the idea, and I thought it was a great idea. Also being an American League fan. Mel, because the American League 9 times out of 10 beats the National League because we're better.
DH, baby.
Yeah, that's it. It's the D.
Let me ask you guys one more question, real quick.
Yes.
This is super hypothetical. It'll probably never happen. What if it was just the skills events? What if they didn't actually play the game and it was just more focused on home run derby, super skills, whatever the football guys do, and the slam dunk contest?
I was gonna say, for NBA, I am more apt to watch the slam dunk and 3-point contest than I am to watch the actual All-Star game.
Me too. Absolutely.
So I mean that is an idea too, is to just make it like a not just home run derby, but like kind of like some kind of pitching accuracy, like do a series of skills competitions.
Yeah.
That might be more fun too. But
so just because this is Geeks Who Like Sports, quick geek anecdote here. One of my favorite NHL games was when ESPN did hockey, because they had the skills competition in the game. It was the first game to actually have the skills competition incorporated in the game. Nice. And me and my teammates, we would just play that. We wouldn't even play games. We'd just do the skills competition. Jeremy Roenick was really good in that game, just like he was in NHL '94. That's your geek anecdote for the day.
There you go.
All right, so very briefly, also this weekend was the 2020 Royal Rumble. I'm just going to give a quick rundown for our wrestling fans out there.
XFL! Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so excited for the XFL. You have no... Anyway, go ahead, Ray.
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. I know Lee might have to root for a New York team because it's the closest team to him without a team in Philadelphia.
Oh, man, the St. Louis Battlehawks have a pretty cool logo. I saw it everywhere last week.
All right, so the Royal Rumble, no titles changed hands. There was a couple of title matches. Bray Wyatt retained against Daniel Bryan. Becky Lynch beat Asuka. It was basically a lot of storylines paid off, but no surprise, no titles changed hands. The big thing with the Royal Rumble, of course, is men's Royal Rumble, women's Royal Rumble. Charlotte Flair, the third ever women's Royal Rumble, she wins for the first time, of course. Daughter of the all-time great Ric Flair. She adds another thing to her legacy as she builds her own legacy, tries to get out of the shadow of her father, has not decided who she will face at WrestleMania. And Drew McIntyre, and I want to mention this just because Drew McIntyre was a guy, as soon as he got to WWE, they put the Intercontinental title on him. He got a push. The fans never got behind him because he was one of those guys like, oh, he's another one of Vince McMahon's, personal golden boys. Ended up getting fired from the company, worked hard in the indie scene, came back, now getting a huge push from the fans, wins the Royal Rumble from entry number 17, eliminates Brock Lesnar after Lesnar ties the record for 13 eliminations. He eliminated literally 13 guys in a row. Basically, McIntyre comes in, does the Claymore, which if you have not seen, if you are not familiar, it is a devastating finisher. It is a full-speed dropkick to the guy's face. And it is awesome. Claymore's Lesnar out of the ring. And basically, it looks like they're setting up a title match between those two at WrestleMania. Just wanted to say that it was a solid pay-per-view. It was not the best Royal Rumble I've ever seen. There was no real surprises aside from Edge coming back and actually doing really well, looking like after 9 years, after triple fusion neck surgery. Very excited. I'm looking forward to what they do with this and how they build on this. Knowing WWE storytelling, they will drop the ball. But at least right now, as a wrestling fan, I'm in an okay place. Do you guys have any thoughts on Royal Rumble or yay, nay?
Well, I think it's a big deal that you're in an okay place. When was the last time you said that, Ray? Seriously.
It's been a couple of years. Honestly. I would say probably early 2018 was the last time I was kind of still on board with wrestling, and now they're starting to win me back again slowly but surely.
It's been longer for me, and I'll tell you this, that my biggest thing with Lesnar is that he was a generation too late for the WWE in its current form. He would have been so good in the Attitude Era. He would have been right up there with the other guys if there was room for him. But I do want to say, too, that now we know that Edge is coming back. That's a pretty cool deal.
Looks like they're pushing him versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania. That's what they're looking like. Looks like.
I'm happy because his career was cut short and it didn't look like we'd ever see him again. So just on a human level, I think it's really great to see him back because he really always was a good wrestler, good guy, did everything right. And it just, his career was cut short by injury. So I think that's going to be really cool. But it's not enough to get me back into the wrestling loop. I have no problem with people who love wrestling. It's just, I was an Attitude Era guy, and they're never going back to that. Self-proclaimed that they're never going back to that. And I invest my time elsewhere. Although I do enjoy listening to you talk about it, Ray. That makes me happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was smiling, nodding my head, like I know what's going on. I mean, I've been out of wrestling for a while, but I feel like I should get back in.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this, it's there's still WWE still has some work to do. But I think for the first time in a long time, the mid card is actually really strong. And that's what people don't realize is how if it's great that you have your headliner matches being great and all that storyline, but if you're going to fill a 2-hour or 3-hour program or a 4-hour pay-per-view, you got to have those lesser matches delivered just as much as the big-time matches. And I think for the first time in a while, you're seeing a really well-developed, strong mid-card. The Intercontinental Championship means something again. The U.S. Championship, the tag team division is really strong. I mean, and there's some fun stuff. There's these guys, I think that they're just called, oh, God. I think it's just heavy machinery. They are like a modern day bushwhackers. They are hysterical. They are funny, but they get in the ring. They put on a great show, and they're big, beefy guys. Like they throw guys around. Like it feels like a bit of old school wrestling mixed with new school, and I really appreciate that. Plus the rise of NXT, and I think a part of this is also the rise of AEW, right? The fact that WWE has a legitimate competitor for the first time in almost 2 decades has forced WWE to get off their butts and to start actually trying to fix their product. And I think you're starting to see that finally start to pay off in the past few months. So
you sold me.
Anyway, so there we go. There's my wrestling rant of the week.
Let's go get in the ring. Let's turn it on. I'm ready.
Yes, awesome. Just don't play WWE 2K20. That game was terrible. They have a lot. Yeah, there's a
2020 bug actually hit that one. So
yeah, no, for sure. There's a lot of that game still has a long way to come, unfortunately. All right, so we're coming into the end of the show. We didn't do a lot of geek stuff today, obviously, right before the Super Bowl. You might expect.
We're about to.
We are about to. Lee last week started talking about Patrick Mahomes as if he was a Pokemon. He started doing the Mahomes. Like, Mahomes. Pokemon, all they can do is say what they are. So that got us the idea of basically assign what Pokemon would players in the Super Bowl be, and I'll kick us off because I am a Pokemon master.
The sad part is he's not wrong. I mean, that's I mean, he kind of is.
Yeah. So my pick would be Tyreek Hill, fastest guy on the field by far, would be a Ninjask. Now that's a bit of a deep cut for some of you folks out there, but Ninjask, Generation 3 Pokemon, it's a flying bug type. It is the fastest non-legendary Pokemon. So if Tyreek Hill and the Chiefs win the Super Bowl this weekend, we might have to bump him up to a legendary type. But as of right now, because they haven't won anything yet, non-legendary, fastest Pokemon there is in terms of base stats with speed, Ninjask. He is the bug flying type. So Tyreek Hill is a Ninjask. Mel, what do you have on the Pokemon front?
All right, so I'm going with my boy George Kittle. We're going to Pokemon George Kittle here. Now, we could start with, like, Geodude being kind of laid back and chill, maybe a little, like, unassuming. But when he gets on the field, he turns into Gollum. And he's just marching over people. He's carrying them along. He's just smashing them. You just can't take down Gollum. He's the untackable tight end. He's going to pass and break every record ever made. He's the greatest ever. He's gonna win. There's gonna be some George Kittle play, some Gollum play that matters in the Super Bowl this week, and watch out because it's coming. And it's kind of like WWE-esque to me. So it's like, yeah, I'm excited to watch this.
Yeah, you started the cut of promo there, Mel. I'm impressed. That's good. Like,
Mel, this is turning into like a season finale of a Pokemon season here.
Yeah.
You know, can Ash come and defeat the 49ers? Will Mahomes?
Let's get the writers. Let's get the producers. Let's put it together, guys. It's coming.
No, but I love that. I just want to say, ooh, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when George Kittle runs wild on you, Kansas City? Like, I was just waiting for that, man. That's great. Golem, the classic, the original rock ground type, makes perfect sense for Kittle. All right, Lee. You were struggling with this in the pre-production. You were fighting for this. You were looking for this. Who do you got?
It fell on me to do the quarterbacks, and of course I, as in Geeks fashion, I have notes. I have some notes because we Mel, that's what we do here, by the way. Like Ray and I put way too much time, and we did an elimination thing with games and movies like a few weeks ago, and we had actual notes and diagrams of like why these things happen. Because of you at home listening. Okay, so I have both quarterbacks here. Okay, Patrick Mahomes.
I have no problem with that, by the way. I think that's great.
Thank you. Yeah,
do it.
We're very thorough here, Mel.
It's funny because on this show, I'm like, Ray, you're such a geek, and that's awesome.
That's how we make video games, boys. That's how it's done.
Yeah,
That's it.
for sure. All right, Patrick Mahomes. So I went deep here because I went fire type because I wanted something that's going to match his uniform. And I came out with 3. You guys can help me. I came out with 3 Pokemon that all use flamethrower as their charge attack. Get a flamethrower. Oh, a little pun there. All right. And I got it down to 3. So Flareon was 1, which I kind of immediately dismissed just because he's too cute and that's not Mahomes. And then it came down to, and again, these are like final evolution because you got to win to get to the final evolution. But Magmar was one, Ray, that we hadn't talked about that I said that might be good. That might be good, or Rapidash, just because he moves.
I could see Rapidash. Yeah.
See, I did my research here. Rapidash, who also his charge attack is flamethrower. Yeah. So you get the pun, you get the color scheme.
Yeah.
You get the
and
Pokemon.
Also one of the fastest Pokemon who runs around a lot. Yeah, very good call.
Thank you. We don't have a producer, but he would cue the applause if it was. Okay, and then going across to Garoppolo. So I have 2 here. One of them is going to sound a little ridiculous. Then I started thinking about it, and it might make sense. So my original one was going to be Mewtwo, armored Mewtwo, because I'm going by Pokemon Go. Okay, just because of the brain on the man. I think he does see the game better than most. I think it's underrated with that. And not that Mewtwo is an underrated Pokemon, but it was there. And then I looked around, and you know who's a powerful Pokemon that could make sense in this is Mr. Mime. Okay, yeah, because you look at Mr. Mime, you go, that's silly. There's no way that thing could beat me. And then out of nowhere, comes out of nowhere, doesn't do much, 8 throws, but they win the game. You just don't know. You just don't know what's going to happen. Now, Ray, that might be a little too far for you, but Mr. Mime's an underrated Pokemon, and Garoppolo's not an underrated quarterback anymore. But both of these men could evolve if they win, transcend to the grand Super Bowl stadium. I'm going to say this again, just on a serious note. I will be happy for whoever wins, and I will be devastated for whoever loses. Yeah. I think this will be a great game. I am so happy that this is not the Patriots, that it's a happy Super Bowl. I mean, really, Mel, I know you have an obvious preference, but I got to say that as just a football fan, I'm looking forward to this weekend. To see Rapidash take on Mr. Mime.
I'm looking forward to my prediction actually being the ultimate wrong prediction and winning the Super Bowl in a 4-12 prediction. So,
we've got it on video, on audio. We'll send it to you. You can show it to your friends on your phone. Like, look what I said.
I give you permission to meme the internet if you need to.
Don't pull a Mel Kirk. All right? The only MKs we need around here are Mortal Kombat, and he fatalized himself back in Seattle for the season started.
Oh, man. And that made sense, though, right? He's a 49er fan in Seattle, but, like, you know, he's redeeming him. He redeems himself, right? When he was in Seattle, I will say it was the fact that he was in Seattle was kind of messing with his brain. Right?
Well, there's a couple other things. Some teams that were supposed to be good were not. And we ran into some of those, and there were the extra W's. But the Rams, the Seahawks, you look at the NFC West, just where I thought we would be, division games, and then look at the games that we ended up winning. That could have gone either way, like with inches. It would have been better than 4-12, but my God, we're in the Super Bowl. We're in the Super Bowl.
I'm going to say this before Ray closes it out. Pure sports talk here, pure athletic talk here. If you are in the Super Bowl, you deserve to be there. A lot of people, I've heard this even on our page, this is a fluke. It is not a fluke to make the Super Bowl. The fluke teams go out in week 2. I'm sorry, they go out in the second round of the playoffs if they get there, okay? You do not get to the Super Bowl as a fluke. If you're there, you deserve to be there. And you have 2 teams that have not won in a long time. That's true for both teams.
Yeah, the Niners haven't won in 25 years. The Chiefs haven't won in 50. So, I mean, it's been a while.
And I want to finish by noting how much it stung that the All-Star game in the MLB was 20 years ago with the game mattering. I didn't realize that, and I feel older today. Thank you, Ray.
Well, on that note, I want to thank our special guest, Mel Kirk, for coming by, for joining us again. Our first 2-time guest, our first repeat guest here on Geeks Who Like Sports. As we continue to take over the interwebs slowly but surely, we appreciate it, buddy. It means a lot to us here on this Wednesday morning. We're 5 days away from as we're recording this, folks. 5 days away from the Super Bowl. Have a great, safe Super Bowl weekend. I'm sure there's going to be folks out there. You're going to be drinking, partying. Probably a lot of folks taking Monday off. But have a great, safe Super Bowl weekend, whoever you're rooting for. Lee, as always, thank you for joining me as well. in Philadelphia.
It's my pleasure, Ray. Thank you.
And thank you all for listening. As always, be sure to join us on Facebook, listen to us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, anywhere else you can get your podcast. We always appreciate it. And until next time, I'm Ray Carcel, and this has been episode 41 of Geeks Who Like Sports.